what led to your decision to enter professional wrestling?
Bad luck.
Do tell.
Details, more details. Oh, details. Okay, back then, actually, I was in the Army. I was serving 2 years. I was drafted into the Army, and it was 2 of the best years of my life because they let me wrestle, amateur wrestling, and at the end of that time, I had made the Olympic team, and then I got hurt, and then I was off the Olympic team, and then I was several more months in the Army, and I decided I should, this was another injury. I was messing around with a guy at the New York AC. I was stationed in Brooklyn, New York, at Fort Hamilton in Brooklyn, New York, and I'd go down to the New York AC and work out. I was working out with I wasn't really working out with him. I was just fooling around with a guy that weighed 147 pounds. I'm 237 at the time, and we were just fooling around. I got my foot caught in the mat the wrong way and blew my knee out and had to have an operation. So they put me in a hospital in Queens. I was in the Army. They put me in the Queens Naval Hospital in Queens, New York, and they operated on me. And the same day they operated on me, they operated on the guy in the next bunk, John Cunningham, who was from Long Island. He was a submariner in the Navy, and John was a big professional wrestling fan, and I had never been. I was into my amateur wrestling. I was focused on amateur wrestling, and every Saturday or whenever it was on, he would drag me down to the TV room, and we'd watch the wrestling from New York. Vince McMahon Sr.'s wrestling, and Dr. Jerry Graham and some of those big names back then were on, and I kept watching it. Thinking with my background stuff, this is something I might be able to do, you know. Up to that time, I'd never made over $1,200 in any single year, being in college and in the Army. So I wrote to the promoter, whose name I knew in Omaha, Nebraska, my hometown, and Joe Dusick. And actually, Joe Dusick's brother, Rudy Dusick, owned the New York territory before Vince McMahon Sr. owned it. He bought it from Rudy, I believe. Anyway, which has nothing to do with anything, but Joe was a pretty good guy anyway. And I wrote to him. I didn't know him, and I wrote to him just a cold call letter, and gave him my background and this, that, and the other. And he wrote me back a nice letter. He said, if you're still interested when you get out of the Army, give me a call, and we'll see what we can do. And meantime, I thought, well, I don't know. Maybe I started thinking, and I had gotten a degree in teaching, so I applied for some teaching jobs in my hometown of Omaha, and I was called in for an interview, and I got a teaching job. So when I got out of the Army, I taught school for a year, and I still had the bug to try this professional wrestling. It was either that or a semi-pro football team. Anyway, I contacted Joe Dusick again, and he had me come down to a TV show. They had a TV show local TV show on Channel 7 in Omaha. And I went down, I met him, and I met, first time I met him, and I met some of the wrestlers, and Vern Gagne happened to be there, and Vern Gagne took an interest and said if I wanted to try out or was serious about it, come up to Minnesota, and he would do what he could with me and see if I had what it took. So a few days or weeks later, whatever it was, I borrowed my little brother's car because I didn't own a car, and drove up to Minnesota. And after they let me sit for 3 or 4 weeks, they finally I met up with Vern again, and I went to the wrestling office, met Wally Carbo and Bill Casisto, who were running the office. And finally, Vern had me come out to his farm, which was a place where he had trained wrestlers there before, and he eventually trained a lot of wrestlers later. Ricky Steamboat's one of those people, and Ken Patera is one of those people, and the Sheik from New York, whose name escapes me now because I'm an older guy. But anyway, Chris Taylor was one of those guys too. But it was just me and Vern at this time. This was before that, and back in 1966. And he was nice enough to start me in wrestling, and apparently I had some of the qualities he was looking for, and he gave me the job of setting up the ring and refereeing. So I did that for several months. And during that time, one of my duties was to set up the ring at the TV studio at the Calhoun Beach Hotel in Minneapolis. That's where they did their weekly television show, which they taped the show, and that was for the Minneapolis-St. Paul area, and then they bicycled it out to the various towns in the AWA, and that's how wrestling was promoted in that area, which I didn't know at the time, but now I know. But anyway, during that period of time, I was still learning the business, so I would be stuck into this little control booth area, which was a dark room where all the TV cameras are, and the director, Al DeRusha, would push buttons and say, camera 1, camera 2, camera 1, camera 2, and he would get the best pictures, and he was very good at that. And they produced quite a good show. But sitting in this dark room, way in the back, and in the hallway, which was lit, I could see this lit door out from where I sat, and the wrestlers would go from the dressing room, which was downstairs. They'd take an elevator up and go into the ring. And one week, after several weeks, this this bald head appeared in the doorway, and a ferocious face, and it says, "You'd make a good German." I was a young, naive guy. I didn't know what this was. I had never met this guy and didn't know who he was. And he went to the ring, and it was El Destructo. Boom, ba boom, ba boom, boom. Action everywhere, boom. Just fantastic. And off he went. I was just too afraid to even speak to the guy. So the next week, this particular person had been out of the territory for a while, but he'd come back. Okay, so the next week I did set up the ring. I went back in the control booth like I was supposed to, watch the wrestling, and this is how I was learning some of the wrestling, plus the refereeing I was doing, this, that, and the other. But anyway, again, the bald head appeared in the dressing room, this fierce face. "You'd make a good German." That's all he said. Off the ring, more destruction, more mayhem. Super, just fascinated me just watching this guy in the ring, because he just tore up the ring and got everybody excited. So after about 3 or 4 times, finally I got worked up the courage. He said, "You'd make a good German." I said, "Well, I am German." And he kind of laughed. He went to the ring and he did the same thing. Tore up the ring, boom, 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 chairs flying, furniture, hair, blood, everything. So after that was that, and then during the week I would be setting up the ring in different little towns and refereeing the matches and running the shows for the office. And this was my rookie year. And so this guy was on the card, and it happened to be Mad Dog Vachon, which folks in most parts of the wrestling world would know his name. And he's quite a character. And he's became a very, very good friend of mine. And he's him and I refereed his matches, and we got to talking in the dressing room. And back then, I still had sidewalls. That was my due. I had a little bit of hair, and he said, "I'm going up to Montreal. I need a partner. You want to come?" I said, "Well, sure."